Cleaning up trash is everybody's job at a theme park. But it gets even trickier when somebody has gotten sick or released other bodily fluids. One of the first things that you learn when you work at a theme park is how to clean up. That it's everybody's job, that everybody does it, from the lowest cast member or employee all the way up to the park president. One of the things I loved seeing at Walt Disney World was the fact that when you did see the big VIPs in the park vice presidents and upper management, even they would actually stop, and if they saw a piece of trash on the ground, would do what we called the Disney scoop, where they would bend down, pick it up, and throw it away. Every cast member helped clean up, regardless of where it was or what it was. Within certain limits, of course. Theme parks put a big emphasis here in the States on being clean. In fact, Disney actually has a guideline that says they should have a garbage can every 30 feet or so. They did massive testing to see what was the most optimum level of garbage can placement to make sure that people were more likely to throw things away versus toss it or leave it on the ground. And 30 feet's what they came up with. And you'll see this approximately at most of the other theme parks as well. Silver Dollar City, in fact, at the train depot that I was at, we had 5 garbage cans for one area. Use those and spread them out so that way people wouldn't throw garbage on the ground. And especially with the snack bar right in our station, that was huge. It helped us to keep it clean. It helped us to keep it safe. And you would see managers oftentimes walk around with the little garbage scoop buckets and brooms or claws to be able to pick things up. Now, there were certain types of trash that we didn't just immediately reach down and pick up. Things that look like used napkins or tissues or diapers or other things like that. We wouldn't just grab that with our bare hands because of the possibility of contamination. We would find other ways. Maybe grab a napkin from a snack bar or something and use that to kind of wrap around it. Or get the broom and dustpan or a claw or something like that where we weren't actually having to physically touch what could be contaminated to help keep us safe. I did have to laugh, though, when Disney taught us how to pick up trash. I mentioned the Disney scoop, and they literally, as part of the training, would teach us how to bend down, use the hands, scoop it up, keep walking, and keep going. Partially because, as weird as this sounds, people would actually get back injuries because they were trying to bend over instead of crouching down. So Disney didn't want to have to pay for the injury, and why get a back injury picking up a piece of paper? So it's a way to help keep you safe. And like I said, we called it the Disney scoop because that's kind of what it looked like. And all that was great to help keep the parks clean. But then when you had other moments and other issues, that's when you had to take other steps. And that would be when things happen like what we called at Disney, the protein spill. Because the reality is people get sick in parks. Sometimes it's because they've gotten dehydrated and didn't take all their fluids. Other times they came in not feeling well and not knowing it, which is actually a good reason why the parks at this moment are closed to help prevent that from passing on. We had a couple times at the train station in the middle of summer where people had not been drinking their fluids. They laid down on a bench in the station and they ended up spilling because they weren't feeling good. And we had to try to get fluids to them, and it created a mess that we had to clean up. Over at Magic Kingdom, we had one time where we had somebody at Ariel's Playground decide that they didn't want to go use the restroom around the corner. They went right there, which created a cleanup issue. So then what do you do? Because those kinds of things could be contaminated with who knows what, and who wants to touch that? Ew! It creates a whole nother situation where you then have to take the cleanup to another level. The first thing that we had to do was we had to isolate it. We'd have to close off the area around it. At the train at Silver Dollar City, for example, we may close off a part of the station where it was, depending upon where it was. If it was in front of our loading gates, we may have to close a gate. We had one time where this one person managed to block off 2 of the gates. And what we actually had to do for a couple rounds to keep people from going through this was we actually had to take people around the depot and we loaded them in through the exit gates instead of the entrance ones, just to help make sure people weren't stepping through it. But then if they actually got all the way onto the loading dock, well, then we were kind of stuck and we'd have to actually close down the ride while we cleaned it up. If it was on the train itself, we would have to close off at least 3 rows, sometimes more, so that way we could clean it up properly. In the case of the aerial playground, we had to close the whole entire playground because it was a water play area, and it could have been bad. So you close off the area first, you secure it. After that, then you deal with the actual cleaning. And depending upon what your job is, some places you actually have to be specifically trained and cleared before you can actually do the cleaning. At Silver Dollar City, all of us on the train were. As a photographer at Disney World, I was not officially cleared to do that. I had to let other people, generally from the custodial staff, do it. One of the first steps that we did was we would take basically cat litter is what we called it. It was a clay formula, and you would toss that onto it so that it would absorb it, soak it up. Then you would take a broom, usually for us at the train, it was a specially designated one. You would sweep it into a red disposal bag, which were specially designated just for that, and they would get tied off. And you're doing this with gloves the whole time, by the way, too. After you've got it into the bag, you would then take water, hopefully bleach water, depending upon the circumstances, and you would rinse off the area. And then we had special sanitizing spray, and we would spray the whole entire area down and let it dry. That would allow it to get cleaned up, to be sanitized, and to be nice and safe again. If it was on the train itself, which did occasionally happen, then we would actually send that section of the train around empty, do a bit more cleaning and sanitizing, send it around empty again, sanitize it one more time, and by that time when it came back, it would be nice and dry and it was sanitized and safe. After that, at least at Silver Dollar City, whoever had the fun pleasure of doing the cleanup then actually had to walk the red bag up to first aid and dispose of it in a specially designated spot. And again, that was to help make sure that human contaminants didn't end up at some place where it could possibly get passed on. You didn't want to put it in a regular garbage can because there are people that drop things they shouldn't in a regular garbage can, and you didn't want them exposed and various other things like that. So it was actually specifically disposed of in a place all just for it. Pretty much the same thing is done if there is a I didn't make it to the restroom kind of thing. You close off the area, you clean it up in the same kind of way, you sanitize it, and then depending upon what it is, you may have to sanitize a larger area. With Ariel's playground, it was in the line to see Ariel, but the playground was right there. We had to close off the whole entire thing. They cleaned the one area, but then they sanitized the whole entire playground area just to make sure it had not gone out and contaminated anything else. Everything got sanitized. And while it was doing that, Ariel and I and the attendant, we just kind of stood in the grotto and went, whee! Yeah, we basically got to sit around and wait while they got everything else finished because we couldn't do anything since we were shut down. I only saw one time in all the times I was at the parks that I might have seen a shutdown for a contagious disease. Generally, the parks did not close down that I am aware of while I was there. And that was part of the deal, is if they did ever have something like that, they didn't want people to know it, so they wouldn't say anything about it. In this one case, they closed off a section of the park. And I don't mean just one ride, it was an area of the park. As a photographer, I had no idea what was going on. I just knew that part of the park was closed. When I went up and just kind of checked, I said, okay, I know I'm going to have guests asking me, what can I know? And they basically told me that it's closed for containment, cleaning, and sanitation. That's why I think there was a disease or an illness or something that got spread around in that part of the park, because they definitely were doing some sanitizing, and it was closed for a couple hours before they got it reopened. Never did find out what, but that was, again, the basic practice of close down the area, barricade it, close it off so people can't get to it, clean it, sanitize it, and then be able to open it up. That's how we dealt with it. And that's probably pretty true for what we do at home too, but at the same time, when we had to do the cleaning and the sanitizing, we would have to wear gear. We would have the gloves on. We would have a mask on, depending upon what we were doing and what we were cleaning. We generally kept dust masks in there just for that instance if we needed it. We may have other gear that we needed. Generally down at the train, we didn't have a problem with it. There wasn't an issue because it was small. We didn't have anything major. But we never had to see anybody in the full suits, which was a good thing. And that is pretty much right now with the COVID-19, kind of what I imagine is happening in the parks right now. All the parks that have been open, like the Disney parks, is they're probably taking this time in the first few days. They're probably going through and they are spraying everything and using sanitizing spray, and they're going to get those parks cleaner than they've probably been in years. They always sanitize and clean at night anyways. That's a standard procedure to sanitize the rides and the stores and the walkways. But they're probably doing it even more now to make sure that when they do reopen, there isn't even the slightest trace of disease in them. So you'll be safe to go. So that's a look at trash and illness and cleanup at the theme parks. Have you seen it? Have you done it? Don't tell too much of a gross story below because none of us want to be sick. But I would love to hear your experiences with it as well. So please leave it in the comments below. Don't forget to hit like, share this video because I know there's a lot of worries about the safety at the parks. They do clean them very well. They do sanitize them. So don't hesitate to share the video and let people know as well. Thank you so much for subscribing. If you haven't yet, what are you waiting for? Be sure to check the description below. There's a ton of information there. Thank you as well to my members, my financial supporters, and my patrons. They are the ones who help make this channel go. A huge thank you to Rich Walker for increasing your pledge this week. I am so grateful for you. If you want to know more about YouTube memberships and supporting me, or about Patreon and supporting me that way, two different ways. They're very similar, but slightly different price points. Be sure to check the description below for the links, or look for that join button below as well. Thank you so very much for watching. Keep safe, keep healthy, and God bless. Cleaning up trash is everyone's job at a theme park. But it gets even trickier when somebody's had a... okay. They did massive testing to see what was the best and... They did massive testing... Okay. And what we actually ended up having to do for a couple rounds to keep people from going through this. Ooh. And you would sweep it into a red... Keep safe, keep healthy, and God bless. Bang. If you'd like to know about my merchandise, fan pages, and more, be sure to check the description below. If you'd like to know whenever I've got a new video posted, well, make sure you hit that button right up there and subscribe. If you'd like to watch another one of my videos, I've got a great one for you right here. And if you'd like to be like these wonderful people here and support me financially on Patreon, well, make sure you check the link right there. There's even some extra perks for them. Thank you so much and God bless.